Let's say tomorrow we have something really important to do and you're afraid you're going to forget it. So the advice I always heard is tie a string around your finger and look at it. The next day you won't forget what you have to do. Well, this week's Parsha Shelach, we have another string, not necessarily tied around our finger, but it's 8 strings that are sort of tied around our bodies. The mitzvah tzitzit, it's a 4-cornered garment that we Jewish men put on every morning to remind us of the 613 mitzvahs that are in the Torah. Tzitzits, the word tzitzits adds up to the word 600, along with the 5 knots and the 8 strings, 613 mitzvahs. There's a beautiful story in the Talmud that illustrates the power of tzitzits. Tzitzits being this sort of bulletproof spiritual vest. Story of a harlot that was so well known, her services were so valued that she would require prospective clients to send in money prior to coming to her office for a visit. And this Jewish man was intrigued, sent in the money, traveled a few days to get to her office, and upon arriving at her residence, walks into the office and sees 7 beds, one on top of the other, separated by 6 silver ladders. He started climbing steadily up the ladders, only to see this harlot on the seventh bed, the golden bed. And there she was, unclothed. And as he was about to engage, his 8 strings, the tzitzits he was wearing, started pelting him in the face to slap him and wake him up, to remind him, like a string around the finger, what is he doing? How can he give in to his lusts and his desires? And he quickly sailed down the ladders, and he was able to regroup himself. Oftentimes we follow our hearts and our eyes, and it leads us astray. In this week's Parsha, the Parsha of the Meraglim, Moshe sends the men into Eretz Yisrael to bring back a positive report about living in the land of Eretz Yisrael, because Hashem wanted us to live in the Eretz Yisrael, and just like He took us out of Mitzrayim, He would take us into Eretz Yisrael. But yet the Meraglim had a different agenda, and they brought back a negative report, and there was a horrific decree that ensued. But at the essence of what really happened, they had followed their own hearts and their desire. And when we learn about tzitzits, the main words in the mitzvah tzitzit is that we should not follow after our hearts and after our eyes. A wishful heart, sees what it can take and what it desires, and our eyes follow that. And that's what we end up wanting to desire. And we see it many times in the Torah, with Chava seeing the tree, the Eitz Hadas, and her eyes opened up. And the men, and Adam and Chava, were naked, and then they had to be clothed, because clothing, it is able to add that buffer that we can become spiritual and not be animalistic. The same with Noach. Noach was naked after the Mabul, after the flood, and he became intoxicated, and his son Shem had to cover him up, again, to protect him from the nakedness, that embarrassment. We use clothing as a protection to insulate ourselves and be a protective force against our animalistic nature. We shouldn't spy or allow our hearts and our eyes to spy on our body to take us astray. The mitzvah tzitzit is a GPS system to remind us, like a string on the finger, that we are here to fulfill God's Torah and His commandments. Let's remember the power of tzitzits and hold on to those strings like strings around our finger. Good Shabbos.